Alright, we're going to do some string formatting. Public class string, how do we call it? Printf. Printf example. Alright, so how do we get this? What is this? Printf is actually a really old function from another language called C. It's been around for a long time, and Java has adapted it. So what problem does it cause or solve? What problem does it solve? Well, we have printf, and say we have a big number. Let's say we have 5,000. Well, if we save this and compile this, what will it print out? Just 50000. Do we want it? How exactly do we want that to look? Another problem we might have is if we have, say, a 48. So here's the problem. If we look at this output, we have a 5,000 and a 48. What if we wanted to be justified? What if we wanted commas? There's all sorts of different things that we might want. So if we type in Java printf, then we can look at formatting numeric print output. And printf, there's a lot to it. They basically used to be system out format, but now it's printf is the more common one. And it has this huge table that goes with it. Whenever I use printf, even now, I go back to the documentation and I say, okay, how do you do this? Oh, okay, you do this. So I'm just going to show you how to do a decimal integer, which means like an int. And then I'm going to show you how to use commas and how big we want it. So for example, we might have system out format. Most people just use system out printf because printf has been the function that people have been using for a long time now, half a century. So let's go ahead and look at some examples. Like for example, we have these spaces, and that's a good thing. We have 5,000. Well, how do we make this work? So printf. Well, it's much more convoluted, unfortunately, because it's based on an old technology. If we want an integer, we have to do %d. Why %d? Because according to this long table, that's how you do the integer, is a %d. Okay, you say so. So, and then you have to have, after the fact, a comma here, because you pass in this as an argument. It's like, oh, okay. So printf is not easy to use. That's the biggest thing about it. It's not easy to use. You have to use the documentation over and over again. But you get, once you get used to it, it gives you the right formatting. Now here we have a 5048, which is not right. So I'm going to do, there's no printf line. So /n is the equivalent of pressing enter. All right. So we'll do a /n, and there we go. 5,000, then there's a /n, 48. Okay. Well, if we go back to our documentation, we can have a comma. So here's an example of how it's used. We have a %d, that just gives us that. And then I think %n will give us a new line here. Yeah, %n gives us a new line in printf, which if you use system out print line, you don't have to use a %n. You use a /n. So I'm going to use a /n in my examples because it works in printf and system out print line. %n does not work with system out print line. So there's all sorts of craziness going on, but you know, we can get used to this. All right, if we want this to have commas, all we have to do is between the % and the d, we can put a comma. All right, so put a comma there, and this should now say 5 comma. There we go, 5,000 with the appropriate comma. Well, that's pretty good. In fact, if we have a whole bunch of others, let's see here, we have 51, 512, 5,123, and then we add 3 more zeros. It puts all the commas in at all the right places. We could put a comma in here, and it wouldn't matter because 48 is less than 1,000, so there's no commas. So putting in commas doesn't mess things up. But what if we wanted a space for 15 characters? We go back here, and if you see, like over here, we have the 8, and over here you have like a 10. Then let's put in 10 and see what happens here. Oh, let me go back, show you exactly where it needs to be. We have, like for example, that's a 10.3, 0.3. We have the 8. So let's put in a comma, 10 right here. See what happens. Well, it moved over one. Oh, that's pretty neat. What happens if we put it over here too? Aha. So by having a 10, it means that all the space here, all the numbers, take up 10 characters wide. And so we're able to have a whole bunch of numbers here, and it'll look better, which is, of course, the exact purpose of printf. See, it's, oh, I need a /n here to make it look better. I put it in the wrong place. There we go. All right, so they're all nicely aligned on the right. When they need commas, they're put in. That's pretty neat. But let's put a F here for all of these and see what happens. We're going to change these integer into a floating point, and then it died because I didn't give it an integer. All right, I didn't give it a float. I gave it integers. So let's see what we have here now. Okay, sounds pretty good. And I get a whole bunch of extra spaces. What if we wanted this to have 2 decimal places? 10.2, 10.2, and 10.2. There we go. Now, let's look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Aha! That's why it's lined up perfectly right there. So if we change this 10 to, say, 15, and we have more space, and formatting is just something that makes things pretty. And then we could put like a $sign in front to put it as currency. There we go. So now we've kind of put a table with money. So printf is nothing more than formatting. There's a lot to it as far as getting it exactly. With me, I use printf so seldomly, I always have to go back. The best thing I find is look at the examples. If you can find an example, then you can make it work. So printf, just nothing special about it except that it helps you print out a special amount of formatting.